At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time. Whenever news breaks, while we're on the air, it's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580. And we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. And I thank you, thank you.
See those flowers, they need love. See the bluebirds, they need love. See the babies, they need love. All God's children, oh, need love. See your mother, she needs love. And my father, he needs love. That's true, baby. And I need love too. See those raindrops, rivers, they need love.
I'm Tavis Smiley. That is Marvin Gaye, of course. Beautiful track that we don't hear often enough. Good choice, Miles. I like that. I like that. It's going to be a great last hour today, final hour of our program today. On this Thursday, on the B-side of this hour, conversation with the current president and CEO of the National Urban League, Marc Morial, about the organization's State of Black America report for 2025. They do this, of course, annually. And this year, they are arguing that Black America is in the midst of a state of emergency in the era of Trump 2.0. So we'll talk to Marc Morial, the current president and CEO of the National Urban League, on the backside of this hour about their State of Black America report for 2025. We are honored to commence this final hour with the former head of the National Urban League, John E. Jacob, whose memoir has just published. It's called I Will F.E.A.R, F-E-A-R, No Evil. We'll let him break that down for us in a second. President Jacob, good to have you on this program, sir. How are you?
My brother, I am fine, and thanks for having me on your show. I know you could have had many other people in this slot, so I'm delighted and happy that you have chosen me.
It is my great honor to have you on this program, President Jacob. I have had the great delight in my career of engaging in many public and private conversations with so many great heads of the Urban League. I'm thinking, of course, of my friend Marc Morial coming on after you. I'm thinking of John Jacob, who I'm in dialogue with right now. I'm thinking of Hugh Price. I'm thinking of Vernon Jordan. Of course, Ron Brown, the late, great DNC chair, spent some good time at the Urban League. So I've had some great conversations with a lot of great urban leaguers over the years. I'm just honored to be in conversation with both of you, two of you, in this final hour. Reflect for me, if you will, on your tenure as head of the Urban League in the period that you were there. And I'm asking you that because I want to kind of juxtapose the state of Black America then and the state of Black America now. So take it back to the 80s and just give me a brief word about your tenure as president of the Urban League.
Yeah, the 1980s during the Reagan-Bush years were some very tumultuous years for us. You have to remember that when Ronald Reagan came into office, he came straight to the National Urban League Conference from having announced his candidacy in Neshoba County, Mississippi, the place where Goodman, Sherner, and
Cheney,
yeah,
Goodman, Sherner, and Cheney, sure.
And when he came to that conference, he made the statement that don't confuse him with others that while he was a conservative, he believed that everything he believed in was what black people believed in. Well, we soon found out that was not the case because he was a preview of Donald Trump, as a matter of fact. Ronald Reagan wreaked havoc on black America. First of all, he made devastating cuts in programs that were favoring black people. Just by reference, when he came into office, the National Urban League had in grants and contracts from the federal government some $29 million. He immediately slashed that by $17 million and reduced it to $12 million. Among the 118 affiliates that we had $100 million in grants and contracts from the federal government. They immediately reduced that to $54 million. So coming into office, he immediately began to attack the programs that were favoring and servicing black people and poor people. And let's be clear about it. It wasn't the impact simply on what was happening to black people. The impact that he was having was impacting poor people, black and white. And that was never fully understood by America. Ronald Reagan, if you recall, when I met him for the first time, I just released The State of Black America, and we had wreaked havoc on his administration. And I was invited to the White House I thought, to meet with Elizabeth Dole. But in a brief meeting with Elizabeth Dole, she told me that someone else would like to see me. Frankly, I thought she was talking about Mel Bradley, the other black guy in the administration. But I soon found myself in the Oval Office with Ronald Reagan. And Reagan, it was the day that there had been a crash of the Thunderbirds, and he was lamenting about those Thunderbird officers who had died in that crash. And as he was about to dismiss me, I said, Mr. President, I cannot leave out of here without sharing with you my view about the position you are taking on granting tax exemption to Bob Jones University, a university that practiced racist practices in dealing with its black students. And he said to me, let me explain to you. He said, what happened was that we had all these college presidents showing up to the White House, telling us all about the IRS was trying to run their campuses. And all I said was that to my cabinet, that we have a problem. He said, the next thing I knew, we have this Bob Jones situation. And I said to him, Mr. President, that is your first lesson in presidential powers. If you mention to your cabinet that there is a problem, there's a bureaucrat around who's going to try to solve it for you. And in solving it for you, it had a negative impact on black people. I said, you have to remember how you use your presidential powers. As I was leaving the White House, the press was waiting to ask me what had we talked about.
Hold that thought one second, Mr. Jacob. When we come forward, I want to hear what the press asked you and what you told the press when you came out of that meeting in the Oval Office with Ronald Reagan all those years ago. You're listening to the former president of the National Urban League, Johnny Jacob. His new book is out now. It's called I Will Fear No Evil. More when we come forward.
From California to the Carolinas, everybody's listening to Tavis. More when we come forward.
Hey man, hey, what's up, bro? What's the station you listening to? Oh man, you don't know? That's Talk Radio, KBLA, 1580 AM. Check it out. 1580 KBLA AM. 1580 Talk Radio. Progressive.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're celebrating our 4th anniversary, and this track right here is the gift one of our devoted listeners presented to us.
Where you get some information, get a true education to know. Ooh, yeah. 1580
How cool is that? Having a member of our KBLA delegation write us a song. Stop it! Our listeners love us and there ain't nothing we can do about it. Wouldn't want to. Thanks to Cardell and everybody else for turning on KBLA Talk 1580. We love you right black.
Make a move into a home of your own. With City National Bank's Ladder Up Home Loan Grant, you could receive up to $20,000 that you never need to pay back. Use it toward your down payment, save on closing costs, or to buy down your mortgage rate. Find out more at cnb.com/ladderuphome. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Property must be in a qualifying market in California, New York, or New Jersey. Additional terms and conditions apply. Not all applicants will qualify. Terms are subject to change without notice. City National Bank is an equal housing lender. Member FDIC. NMLS number 536994.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
For the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James F.E.A.R. James said something that caught me off guard. Black out the Dina is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution-oriented. So, go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
Tavis Smiley and John E. Jacob, the former president and CEO of the National Urban League. His new memoir is out called I Will Fear No Evil. I'm working my way inside that text in just a second. He was telling us a pretty engaging story about being in the White House to meet Liddy Dole, who was a member of Reagan's cabinet, wife of the late Bob Dole. He was told by Liddy Dole that somebody else wanted to see him while he was there. And before he knew it, he was in the Oval Office meeting with Ronald Reagan. And there are a couple things about that meeting that strike me that I want to get back to in just a second, but I want you to finish your story first about what happened when you walked outside. And as is typically the case, the press is always waiting outside the White House whenever anybody comes out and meeting with the president to ask them questions. Pick up the story right there, President Jacob.
Well, they wanted to know what we had talked about, and I said, well, I won't share with you my conversation with the president. But one of them said to me, well, Mr. Jacob, do you trust President Reagan? And I said, I trust my mother, and walked away.
I did not see that coming, but that's a great story. I trust my mother, and you walk away. I love that. That's why he was the president of the Urban League. He knew how to handle that. He knew how to handle that moment and made a statement without making it. I love that rejoinder. What an amazing story. I didn't see that coming. Let me go back. Now, you're outside, and you say, I trust my mother, and you walk away. Let me walk you back inside the White House. Let's go back inside the Oval Office, and here's my question. And I've been in the White House so many times, so I know something of this, but let me just tell you this. If I had a dime for every time I've been in meeting with Negroes who said before we got there what they were going to tell the president, and then we got there, you know where I'm going, right? They all melted.
Oh, yeah.
They did not have the capacity in that moment. I mean, there's no place in the world quite like the Oval Office. And so you say before you get in there, I'm going to tell the president this, I'm going to tell the president this, and then you get in there and you just melt in that room. So I am struck by the fact, I'm not surprised. I know John Jacob. I'm not surprised though, but I'm emboldened by the fact that you did not miss your moment to tell the president exactly what you thought with regard to his agenda that was antithetical to the best interest of black people. But say a word for all of us who ever find ourselves in any situation with any kind of power, and what it means to dig down deep to speak your truth to that power, President Jacob?
Well, what I always would tell local urban leagues is that services may be how you get your funding, but advocacy is how you get your credibility with your constituency. So when you're in the room, your job is to speak to power. Your job is to remember why you're there. And you're there for all the Black folks who don't have the opportunity to be there.
That's right.
And you have to represent. You have to be their voice, and you have to make their concerns known.
Yeah, I love that. I love that. I'm so glad that I asked that question, because that's exactly what we needed to hear right about now. We have to be unafraid to speak truth to power, and for that matter, to the powerless these days. Somebody's got to tell the truth. And Cornel West is on the program earlier today. He made it very clear that the condition of truth is to allow the suffering to speak. If nobody speaks truth to the suffering of Black people and poor people, then that suffering is rendered invisible. And so I could not agree more with President John E. Jacob. I'm jumping now into the book, I Will Fear No Evil. Let me just ask you a broad question here. I am fascinated always by various conversations that I've had in my career, even today, with so many iconic Black people like yourself who come out of Texas. Texas is what it is. We were discussing earlier on our program today that Texas is going to pick up at least 5 more Republican seats. Democrats, as you know, are running out of the state trying to avoid having to vote for this nonsense. But they're going to pick up 5 more Republican seats, as if they need more in the state of Texas. How do you juxtapose having come out of, you are a child of Texas, with Texas politics today?
Firstly, I'm not surprised.
Yeah.
And I don't know why Black people should be surprised.
Mm-hmm.
What I preach all the time is that Black folks have to understand that every day they have to get up fighting.
Yes.
In this movement, in this business, in this country, America has always had a blind spot when it comes to race. They've never gotten beyond viewing Black folks as 3/5 of a person. And while they may allow a few of us to make it inside the room, they still view Black folks who make it in the room as exceptional, not as a part of a group of people who ought to be included. And so the struggle has to always be to get up every day recognizing that the fight is on. And even if you don't win the fight, show up in the fight. Have them thinking every day, here they come again. That is how you deal with this situation. Texas has not changed since I grew up there. Texas is Texas. And the problem that I have with the way Democrats tend to deal with issues, I think they can pray these issues away. But prayer without fight is a losing cause. And so they have to understand that if Texas is doing that, where Democrats are in control in other locations, they have to do the same thing.
Yeah.
They have to add seats to protect and to send a message to Republicans that if this is the fight, we're in it too.
Yeah. In this book, I Will Fear No Evil, you, of course, recount your personal journey, and I'm glad you did. It's fascinating to read. Your personal journey from childhood and adolescence in deep poverty in this profoundly segregated mid-20th century Houston, Texas, where against the odds, of course, you were able to make your way. We were talking earlier on today's program about poverty with Reverend William Barber. We've had some great guests on this program today, as you can tell. And we were talking to Reverend Barber, who's doing the most amazing work now organizing poor people. And he made a very powerful point that consultants tell Democrats, Democrat presidents, Democrat candidates, Democratic establishment members, they are told by their consultants to not talk about poverty. Don't say the word poverty. Talk about the working class. Talk about the middle class, but not poor people, not impacted people. And I think that is a recipe for long-term disaster for the Democratic Party. What say you about the Democratic Party wrestling with how to address the issue, the growing issue of poverty, income inequality, and economic immobility in this country?
You know, poverty will not become invisible because you don't talk about it. Poverty only multiplies because you don't deal with it.
That's right.
And the challenge for Democrats and the challenge for America is to first of all recognize that this is a phenomenon that is dragging this country down, and that if America really wants to be the shining city on the hill, it has to deal with this issue. It has to fight and find solutions to how you deal with poverty. Now, we made a suggestion to the Reagan-Bush administration. We recommended that they put in place a Marshall Plan for America. And we argued that they had done so for the rebuilding of Western Europe. They were willing to spend from anywhere from 3 to 5% of the GDP, or up to 10% of the federal budget, to deal with rebuilding Europe. And so we said, why don't you use that same strategy for rebuilding America, for rebuilding our cities, for rebuilding our roads, our bridges, our waterways, our airports, our schools? Why don't you use that same strategy and make an investment in rebuilding America cities? And in doing so, you will put people back to work, paying taxes, and improving communities. Now, the problem is that I think they thought we were just talking about black people. But the truth of the matter, in 1980, there were 4 million people living in poverty. All of them were not black people. In fact, there have always been more white people living in poverty than black folks. It's just that we have a disproportionate share of poor people. So America has never been able to understand that when you talk about solutions to issues like poverty, you're not just talking about black folks.
That's right.
You're talking about America, the real America, those veterans who are returning with no place to go, those white folks who have no home and no schools and no work. Because in 1980, the unemployment rate for black folks was officially 17%. But because the National Urban League had developed what we call the hidden unemployment, where we factored into their official numbers those people who dropped out of the workforce because they couldn't find jobs, or those folks who were working part-time when they wanted full-time work and had full-time bills, that the unemployment rate for black folks was really 25%. And for young boys, it was up to 50%. So America has to understand that if it wants to address rebuilding America, it has to put in place a strategy that includes folks who are not presently being included, but at the end of that, America will benefit from new taxpayers, from new engineers, from new scholars, from people who can make America great again.
I love it. My time is getting tight. I got less than 5 minutes here. Less than 5 minutes. Want to cover a couple other things right quick here. You write powerfully and I think poignantly in the book, I Will Fear No Evil, President Jacob, about these missed opportunities during the Reagan and Bush administrations of the 80s and early 90s that you referenced earlier in this conversation. I wonder how much better off we might be, where you think America would be now. You mentioned Reagan is a precursor for Donald Trump. Indeed, he is. But if some of those missed opportunities had been taken advantage of, I wonder where black folk might be right now in America.
We would be in a whole new different world.
Yeah.
Tavis, I'll take you back to 2016. If three simple things had happened.
Right.
If Hillary Clinton had got elected president, if Stacey Abrams had gotten elected governor of Georgia, if the person Gillum running for governor in Florida, if those three people had gotten elected, we would have a very different America today than what we have. Because those folks saw America as being an inclusive nation where all folks ought to benefit from the greatness of this country. And America missed that point. America missed rebuilding America using a Marshall Plan. America missed full employment by a universal employment plan. So there were opportunities brought to politicians' attention that if they had just tested them out, we would be in a very different place than where we are today.
Let me ask you right quick whether or not two of the things that you most advocated for during your presidency back in the 80s at the Urban League, if those things still matter today, education and job training, those are the twin rails that you ran on, sir.
Absolutely. And if we continue to miss them, America will continue to disintegrate, because that is where America has to begin to restructure herself to be a stronger, more inclusive, and more productive nation. I'm an example of that. I'm an example of what America can possibly do by making ways and opportunities for people in this country who began from a point of zero.
Yeah.
And that if America understands that being poor doesn't mean you don't have abilities. Being poor means you don't have opportunities.
That's right.
And that if you put in place opportunities, you can have a very different outcome for America.
Given all that you've seen, all that you've endured, particularly in a moment like this in American history, how are you sustaining your hope these days, Mr. Jacob?
Well, I happen to believe, Tavis, that America will have to, whether she likes it or not, come to grips with a reality that she has to be more inclusive. It's not going to happen in the next 3 years with this administration, I can tell you that.
Yeah.
But America has to wake up and come to grips with the fact that you can't ignore these issues. You can't ignore these people.
Yeah.
You can't ignore these problems. And you can't ignore America being developed into the nation that it should be, with all the opportunities that it has in front of it.
Under his leadership, the Urban League, the National Urban League, successfully opposed key Reagan-era policies, as we've just discussed, achieving landmark victories such as the establishment of the MLK Jr. holiday and shaping the U.S. stance against apartheid in South Africa, which eventually led to the release of Nelson Mandela and his ascendancy to the presidency of that country. Those efforts contributed to increased black political mobilization, I think it's fair to say, and laid the groundwork, I might also add, for major milestones like the election of Bill Clinton and later the election of Barack Obama. And so we celebrate the tenure of John E. Jacob as president of the National Urban League. More to the point, we celebrate the release of his memoir, finally, I Will Fear No Evil. President Jacob, an honor, sir, to have had you on this program. Thank you for all the many years of your work and witness. Delighted to have had you on this program, my friend.
Thank you, Tavis, so much for having me.
When we come forward, the current president of the National Urban League, Marc Morial, talking about their State of Black America report for 2025.
This is getting good. Yeah, man. Tavis Smiley continues when we come forward.
I'm Bree Wood with BIN News Now. Texas lawmakers are in Kerrville investigating the deadly Hill County floods. Senator Jose Menendez is raising concerns over missing emergency sirens and tax cuts that replaced flood system upgrades.
They had some really cheap Chinese radios that they were talking to each other on. We're better than that. We can do better than that, and we need to.
At least 108 people died in Kerr County on July 4th. Black New York City Mayor Eric Adams is urging the MTA to reject proposed fare hikes, calling them unfair without service improvements. The plan would raise subway and bus fares to $3 starting in January. Public hearings are set before the MTA board votes. And Rob 49 is announcing his first ever headlining tour. The New Orleans native will embark on the Let Me Fly tour this fall. The 17-city run begins in Fort Lauderdale in October and will wrap up in Houston on November 25th. Get BIN News Now on demand 24/7 on the iHeartRadio app.
Emergencies can happen at any time. That's why building an emergency kit and having a plan is so important. Southern California Edison stays ready for the unexpected, and they encourage you to be prepared too. For more information and to update your outage alerts, visit scE.com/beprepared.
Is it time for a new job? Then it's time for Express Employment Professionals. Quit the endless online job search. Enlist the pros. Let a local recruiter from one of their 870 locations help. And Express never charges job seekers a fee. Go to expresspros.com.
This is the KBLA Sports Minute with Ray Richardson.
The Dodgers lost at Cincinnati 5-2. Their lead in the NL West is down to 3 games over San Diego. The Padres have won 5 straight. The Angels' 3-game winning streak was snapped with a 6-3 loss at home to Texas. The highest paid offensive lineman in the NFL plays for the Chargers. Left tackle Rashawn Slater signed a 4-year extension worth $114 million. $92 million is guaranteed. Slater, entering his 5th season with the Chargers, will average $28.5 million with his new deal. The HBCU Legacy Bowl, an all-star game for HBCU football players, got a major financial boost from the John Madden Foundation. The foundation, named in honor of the legendary NFL broadcaster, agreed to cover all expenses for the Legacy Bowl Career Fair, which attracts more than 800 HBCU students from around the country. The Legacy Bowl is scheduled for February 21st in New Orleans. No debates, no speculation, just the info you need. That's your KBLA Sports Minute. I'm Ray Richardson on KBLA Talk 1580.
We've got a lot to talk about. Hi, I'm Zoe Williams, a.k.a. the Voice of Reason, encouraging you to join me weekdays from 7 to 9 p.m. for the world's most intriguing relationship radio roundtable. Every night, I facilitate and encourage our loyal listeners to participate in the most engaging relationship discussions you'll hear anywhere. So make it a point to rendezvous with me, Zoe Williams, the Voice of Reason, Monday through Friday, 7 to 9 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. Trust me, your relationships will never be the same. The VOR is on fire tonight.
Unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580. We've got your black. This is KBLA Talk 1580. Talk radio. That's music to your ears. We're unapologetically progressive. KBLA Talk 1580.
Paid for by government.com. Did you know? The United States Mint has issued a new Morgan silver dollar coin in proof condition for the first time. Not only that, they are also minted in 99.9% pure silver for the first time ever in history. Coin experts are calling this an amazing opportunity for anyone that knows the enduring popularity of Morgans. But you must hurry. Only 400,000 of these legal tender silver dollars were issued. These first ever Morgan silver dollars are brand new with stunning mirror-like finish, minted by the iconic San Francisco Mint. Call now and you're guaranteed a new first ever 99.9% pure silver proof Morgan dollar. To learn more, call 1-800-973-9717. If you order now, you will receive a free coin collector bonus pack, a $25 value, free with every order. Call 1-800-973-9717 now to secure your new Morgan silver dollars before they are gone. That's 1-800-973-9717.
Hi, everyone. My name is Raquel Graham, and I have a big announcement to make. I have my own radio show. It debuts on KBLA 1580 on August 2nd, and it is called Entrepreneuring. I'm an inventor, a Shark Tank winner, entrepreneur for over a decade, and a proud mom of 2. I created this show because I know firsthand that entrepreneurship doesn't have just one look. Entrepreneuring celebrates what building a business really looks like. Big, medium, small, and micro. Some of us are running multi-million-dollar operations. Some of us are braiding hair in our kitchens. We're bakers, grant writers, laundromat owners, event promoters. Mark your calendars. Please tune in August 2nd, KBLA 1580 at 1 p.m. Pacific time. No question is too big or small. Let me know what you'd like for me to cover. See you then.
Give people what they want.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we aim to foster enlightening, sustainable, restorative dialogue, and we welcome unapologetically progressive viewpoints that empower fellow citizens. We are now accepting submissions for KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorials like this one.
With the KBLA Talk 1580 guest editorial, I'm Martin Gordon, chair of the Pasadena Community Coalition. Recently, I listened to a Tavis Smiley show conversation with James F.E.A.R. James said something that caught me off guard. Black out the Dina is gone. My community is being murdered. I said murdered.
All you have to do is go to our website homepage at KBLA1580.com and click on the icon that says KBLA Guest Editorials to learn more about our editorial standards and content submission guidelines. As long as the topic aligns with our mission, we are happy to review your submission and consider it for broadcast. We can't make any promises, but we want to amplify progressive perspectives that are community-focused and solution solution-oriented. So go to KBLA1580.com right now to download all the information you need about our guest editorials. At KBLA Talk 1580, we've got your black.
Sometimes he fails at fitting in, but we're okay with that. You're inside the Tavis Smiley Show.
You are indeed. Just had an amazing conversation with Johnny Jacob, the former president of and CEO of the National Urban League back in the 80s and 90s during the Reagan-Bush era. And I asked him moments ago, where we might be in Black America right now if we had missed all those years, 12 to be exact, 8 years of Reagan. 4 years of Daddy Bush, 12 years where Black America just lost all kind of ground. We might be better off now, far better off if we'd been able to take advantage of some of the opportunities during that particular era. It was not to be, and so I thank John Jacob for his candid conversation with us about his tenure during that particular period of time, and we celebrate again the release of his memoir finally about his tenure, again, as head of the National Urban League. We are waiting a phone call from Marc Morial, the current president of the National Urban League, about their State of Black America report for 2025. Let me just tell you a bit of the backstory about the report, and that might save us some time when he gets on running through some of the issues that they lay out, if I can sort of just tee it up for you before we get him actually on the line, which my team is working on doing right about now. But I mentioned when I talked to John Jacob a moment ago that I've had the honor in my career to talk to so many of the leaders of the National Urban League. I wasn't around to interview Whitney Young when he, of course, was running the Urban League back in the era of civil rights. You had Whitney Young at the Urban League and Roy Wilkins at the NAACP, all these amazing, iconic black leaders in the era of King running these major national organizations. But I have had the opportunity to talk to, again, Hugh Price and Marc Morial and John Jacob and Vernon Jordan, who I miss dearly. I love Vernon Jordan. And I raised Vernon Jordan's name because these annual State of Black America reports started in 1976, all the way back to 1976, under the stewardship of the late, great Vernon Jordan, the organization's fifth president. And so every year, since 1976, we look forward to this report, the State of Black America from the Urban League, about the crises ongoing, it seems, that Black Americans have to navigate through every day. When I started my symposia every year that you watched on C-SPAN every February, we called it the State of the Black Union. And we called it State of the Black Union because, one, they already owned the title, State of Black America, but also because we did our symposia every year in February following the January address of the President of the United States about the State of the Union. So every January, the President would give his State of the Union address, in which they always lied and said the state of our union is strong. Lie, lie, lie. But anyway, they did that in January. We would come behind it in February with the State of the Black Union, not to be confused with the State of Black America report that the Urban League puts out every year and has done so since 1976. And so this year's report has been dropped. It's called State of Emergency, Democracy, Civil Rights, and Progress Under Attack. And let me just give you some of the highlights of the report right quick, and we'll get right to Marc Morial here. Now that we've talked to John Jacob about his tenure, we'll get back to Marc about what it means to be stewarding this organization right about now in this American moment. But the first chapter is called What We Stand to Lose. The second chapter, How the War on Woke is Fueling Systemic Oppression and the Assault on Civil Rights. The third chapter, The Radicalization of the Civil Rights Division. Chapter 4, Muted, How Digital Censorship and Misinformation Undermine Democracy. Chapter 5, A New Resistance. Chapter 6, How the National Urban League is a Leader in the Resistance. And Chapter 7, How Diversity, Equity, and Inclusion Protects and Advances Democratic Ideals. Those are the chapter titles, but the bottom line is that the Urban League is telling us this year in their annual report that started again in 76 with Vernon Jordan, they've done it every year since then, that America, Black America, particularly right now, is in a state of emergency, democracy, civil rights, and progress under attack. There's your setup. Now I'll go straight to the gentleman from the National Urban League, the President and CEO, Marc Morial. Mr. President, how are you, sir?
Tavis, good to be with you. As always, congratulations on your continuing voice of courage and progress. Thank you.
Man, my pleasure to have you on. My time is tight. I just sort of set up what you have brought us this year in this report. Take it from there.
Tavis, clearly and without any fear of contradiction, we are under attack. The 70 years of civil rights progress, which began with Brown, is now under attack. A hostile U.S. Supreme Court, a hostile presidential administration with its partners in Congress are seeking to erase substantial progress that we've made. And I would concede that progress has not been enough. So it's an assault on voting rights through the courts, through executive actions, through a Department of Justice, which is refusing to enforce the Voting Rights Act. It's an assault on economic opportunity with this clumsy, if you will, attack on diversity, equity, and inclusion, which is really an attack on African-American access to jobs, contracts, higher ed, and other opportunities. And then with the big ugly bill, a wholesale attack on the Medicaid program and on the Affordable Care Act, which will have the effect, if we don't stop this bill from taking effect, of reversing some 20 years of progress that we've had, albeit not enough. But this is not a time to go back.
Yeah. I'm struck by your use of the word clumsy, and I'm not suggesting it isn't, but this attack on DE&I seems so intentional, so draconian on their part. Unpack that word clumsy for me.
It's based on twisted logic.
Right.
The idea that a commitment to equal opportunity is somehow a preference program. Tavis, we heard this before. You and I heard it with the attacks on affirmative action back in the 80s. And the 90s, it's the same old soup warmed over. It's an effort to say, well, diversity, equity, and inclusion is allowing people with no qualifications and merit to have opportunity. We all know that's a falsity. It's a fantasy, but it is the narrative that is being advanced. And it's clumsy because one need only peek one level under the surface, and they'll know that it is a fake and phony argument. Nonetheless, when people have power, they can advance fake and phony arguments. If people have power, they can, if you will, advance narratives which are nonsensical and lack common sense.
Yeah. There's a line in this report that I read as a damning indictment of this experiment in democracy. I repeat what I said earlier in today's program, but I say all the time. I call it an experiment in democracy, Mark, because we have a Madisonian framework for democracy that I don't think we've quite yet achieved. That said, there's a line in this report that I want to give Marc Morial a chance to unpack when we come forward. But here's the line. A democracy willing to destroy itself rather than deliver justice is a democracy in crisis. A democracy willing to destroy itself rather than deliver justice is a democracy in crisis. My question very simply is this. Is that where we are? That we are living in a democracy right now that is willing to destroy itself rather than deliver justice? That's the question. We'll get the answer from the president of the National Urban League, president and CEO, Marc Morial, when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Generous listening. Charitable listening. It's why everybody wants to talk to Tavis. The conversation continues when we come forward.
At KBLA Talk 1580, we're proud to be celebrating 4 years on the air, but we know we could not have made it this far without you. We work hard every single day to curate conversations that will enlighten, encourage, and empower you. So, from all of us at KBLA Talk 1580, a big thank you for your love and support.
You don't know how much you mean to me.
And by the way, if your smartphone did not update automatically, be sure to download our brand new KBLA 1580 app. We think you'll love all the new features, including new ways to send us photos and video in real time, whenever news breaks, while we're on the air. It's a new dawn, a new day for KBLA Talk 1580, and we're glad you're on this journey with us.
You never turned away, you were right there. Thank you.
We ask seniors how to prevent Medicare scams.
My best advice, if you get a phone call, do not talk to the person. These people are well trained. Don't talk to them.
They don't know me. They're just trying to scam me.
Don't be fooled. Hang up. Just hang up.
Never give out your Medicare number.
They're going to get your number to put in a false claim.
If I get a call from someone, I don't pick up the phone. And should I pick up the phone and they ask for information, then I hang up.
How do you detect Medicare fraud?
Just like I check my credit card statements, I check my Medicare statements monthly.
Scammers can get a hold of your number, order medical devices through your account, and you're not even going to know about it if you don't look at your statement.
Check your statement every month. If you get your statement and you see something that you know you did not have done, you report it.
Call your senior Medicare Patrol.
To report Medicare fraud, call the Senior Medicare Patrol at 855-613-7080.
Ron had a tax problem he just couldn't handle on his own.
I owed the IRS taxes for over 5 years, but I didn't have any money to pay the taxes.
Those years cost him dearly.
Most of it was fees and interest. It was horrible.
Ron finally called in the pros.
I called Optima Tax Relief, and boy, am I happy I did.
The leading tax resolution firm, Optima, is A+ rated by the Better Business Bureau. They've resolved over $1 billion for their clients. Ron was overjoyed.
They settled my account with the IRS. I was ecstatic. They are a lifesaver. They are. I am so happy.
Take Ron's advice and call Optima now for a free consultation.
Yeah, don't do like I did and wait. Call Optima Tax Relief. Do it now. You'll be ecstatic like me.
Call 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077. 800-919-9077.
Optima Tax Relief.
Testimonial from an actual client. Some restrictions apply. For complete details, please visit OptimaTaxRelief.com.
He's a paradigm pioneer and the top-rated African-American talk show host in the nation, according to Talkers Magazine. You're tapped in with Tavis Smiley right now.
Tavis Smiley and Marc H. Morial, former president, not former mayor, I should say. Now, he's still the president, former mayor of New Orleans, and now president and CEO for 20-plus years of the National Urban League, and they are blessed to have him in that position. He's part of a long lineage of great leaders of that institution, and again, we are blessed to live in the era of Marc Morial as our president and CEO of the National Urban League. Marc, this is a damning indictment to my mind that the Urban League believes, as you write in this report, that a democracy willing to destroy itself rather than deliver justice is a democracy in crisis. I don't disagree with it, but is that where we are in this democracy?
I think, Tavis, regrettably and painfully, we're at that point. Think about the idea that elected leaders, and let's take one example. Elected leaders in Texas are considering redrawing the Texas congressional districting lines with the specific intent to erase the power of Black and brown people and Democrats.
That's right.
Saying we will do this intentionally. Well, one of the basic principles of democracy is one person, one vote. One of the basic principles of democracy is that everyone should have a fair chance to elect representatives of their choice. When you crack districts, when you pack districts, then the effort is to undermine democracy. So those who are elected are seeking to, in effect, almost engineer a coup from within in an effort to retain and sustain their power, even though the demographic trends say something else. Number two, the rule of law. When a president seeks to use executive action and executive power and intrude into areas historically reserved for congressional action, that is a direct attack from within on American democracy. If we do not sound the alarm today, we will wake up 3, 5, 7, 10 years from now and we'll ask what happened to our democracy, which is why I'm passionate, and we at the National Urban League are passionate to stand up. Look, Dr. King, Whitney Young, Roy Wilkins, A. Philip Randolph, John Lewis, Dorothy Height, Fannie Lou Hamer. I could talk about that generation. They, even though they were cut out of American democracy through segregation, led the most important peaceful, nonviolent change movement in human history to make democracy complete and full. That work is now on the line because many on the far right today don't even give credence to that. They're trying to take America back to before those times. If that's not a democracy in crisis, I don't know what is.
We talked earlier in today's program about gerrymandering. I talked to a number of guests about this. Cornel West on today, William Barber on today, Connie Rice on today, John Jacob on today. Just an all-star roster of persons in a variety of those conversations, in a variety of ways, Mark, inside those conversations. We talked about gerrymandering as a threat to the very democracy. I want to close on that note with you. He is a former elected official himself. He puts his finger on it. And it's not just gerrymandering as a threat to our democracy. Is what is the response? What agency do we have? What agency do Democrats have to stop this redistricting, to respond to the gerrymandering that is, in fact, destroying our democracy, or as Marc Morial put it, a coup from the inside? We'll give him the final word on gerrymandering when we come forward on Tavis Smiley.
Why does Tavis say, when we come forward? Because he's not going back. And you don't have to go back either. Forward ever, backward never. More of Tavis Smiley when we come forward.
My mom has decided to learn to paint, and she's good.
My dad's now into creative cuisine, and I've already put on 6 pounds.
Learning new things comes with age.
My mom, she started forgetting my name and what we're talking about.
Forgetting well-known things doesn't. Memory loss may be a sign of Alzheimer's disease. Early detection gives you and your loved one time to plan for the future. Learn the warning signs of Alzheimer's at 10signs.org. Brought to you by the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
KBLA Talk 1580. We've got a lot to talk about.
KBLA Talk 1580 reminds you, when we fight, we win. The Youth Justice Coalition is challenging America's addiction to incarceration and discrimination. YJC works to dismantle policies leading to mass incarceration, law enforcement violence, and the school-to-prison pipeline. Their approach? Transformative justice, community intervention, free LA high school, legal defense, and system monitoring. YJC promotes safety without relying on prisons. Their goal? Prevent system contact and help people exit the system through direct action, advocacy, and education. Want to get involved or need help? Call 323-235-4243. That's 323-235-4243. Join YJC in creating change. When we fight, we win. KBLA Talk 1580, your voice for justice. This is a community call to action from KBLA Talk 1580.
Why'd I go to the doctor? My heart would race just taking my son to practice. It didn't feel right. So I got checked out. Turns out I have atrial fibrillation, which increases the risk of stroke about 5 times.
Symptoms like irregular heartbeat, heart racing, chest pain, shortness of breath, fatigue, or lightheadedness can come and go. But if it's AFib, the risk of stroke remains. If you have symptoms, contact a doctor.
I'm so glad I did.
Visit notimetowait.com. Sponsored by Bristol-Myers Squibb and Pfizer.
If you're like me, 60 and retired, making ends meet, especially here at the supermarket and drugstore, is tough. I'm so blessed to have found benefitscheckup.org. It's a free and confidential website from the National Council on Aging that connected me to $1,200 a year in programs that help pay for food, medicine, utilities, and more. Maybe it can help you. benefitscheckup.org.
You know where you want to go in life, and City National Bank can help. City National knows the dedication it takes to build your vision for the future into a reality, and our team is here for you. We have a wide range of options to help, from personal savings accounts to interest-bearing money market savings accounts and more, all designed to help you get where you want to go. City National, here for every stage of the journey. Learn more at cnb.com. City National Bank is a subsidiary of Royal Bank of Canada, member FDIC.
Freedom is an endless meeting. So let's get back to it with Tavis Smiley.
I've got 3 minutes left, and I will yield it to the gentleman from the National Urban League, specifically the President and CEO, Marc Morial, to talk about gerrymandering as a threat to this democracy. Mr. President, all yours.
Yeah, and Tavis, you asked, who can we rely on to protect us? Historically, since the 1950s, we relied on a combination of the Justice Department's Civil Rights Division with the legal responsibility to enforce the civil rights laws, including the Voting Rights Act. We relied on access to the courts through private litigation, and we relied on protest and agitation as well to raise prominence over the issues. Well, this Justice Department has retreated from its obligation and have said, we will not bring any civil rights cases. We will not bring any voting rights cases. So when the people who are entrusted to enforce the law shirk in their responsibility, then this is another reason why we are in a state of emergency and our democracy is in crisis.
Yep. I asked you as the exit question the same thing I asked of John Jacob, the former president of the National Urban League, how in a moment like this you are personally and how we collectively can sustain our hope, Mark.
Well, Tavis, I feel on a personal level and as a generation that we're both in completely violated.
Yeah.
And kicked to the gut. But history and struggle tells me they may kick us in the gut, but they will not knock us down or knock us out. So in this moment, we have to be resolute. We have to be determined. We have to demonstrate courage. We have to use a combination of disruption and common sense to fight what is going to be a very, very long battle. There's no quick out. There's no easy out. But one thing I hope people recognize with what we are facing is that elections matter. And this business of not voting and not showing up and making all sorts of reasons and excuses, I understand why you're frustrated. But it doesn't equate that because I'm frustrated, I will not use my power.
Yeah. Yep. No, we should never surrender our agency to be outraged or our agency to vote in our own best interest. On that note, we completely agree. The report is out now. It's their annual report for 2025. It's called State of Emergency, Democracy, Civil Rights, and Progress Under Attack, brought to us by the current president and CEO of the National Urban League, Marc H. Morial. Mark, I love you, man.
And
Thanks for your
one
time.
last
Yes,
thing.
Sure.
Stateofblackamerica.org. The report is free. It's available to you. Go check it out. Stateofblackamerica.org.
Thanks, Mark. Appreciate you, man. Stay strong, brother.
All right, Tavis. Thank you, man.
All right.
All right.
Just like that, 3 hours gone. Somehow we got that 80-pound show into that 40-pound bag. Just an amazing all-star roster of guests today. Hope you appreciated the show just half as much as I did. I love sitting here every day. I say all the time, I leave the studio every day smarter than when I came in. And we were downloaded in a very rich and beautiful and powerful way today by all of our guests, and I'm thankful to all of them. Tomorrow's Friday, which means the best of Tavis Smiley. All those great guests means somebody got a hard time figuring out what the best of will be tomorrow. Glad that ain't my job for Raji and Jay-Z. Anyway, I digress, Miles. Until tomorrow, the best of Tavis Smiley. Thanks for tuning in all this week. And as always, keep the faith.
KBLA 1580 Santa Monica.